Now let's talk about how to ask questions. It's very important that you don't ask leading questions, but that you ask open-ended questions. So what is a leading question? A leading question is, for example, when you ask someone, don't you think that project X is needed? So it's clear that the answer that the questioner wants to see is yes, that project is very much needed. So the question is structured in such a way that it leads to the desired answer. Research shows that people who do not have strong opinions are likely to allow themselves to be led, and the desired answer will be obtained, but it will be worthless as a predictor of people's positions in a particular issue. So those who already have a strong opinion are likely to be insulted by a leading question, and this will lead them to think that your whole interview and your whole positionality is completely biased, and they don't want to interact with you. So it becomes a problem for your own agency as well. So these are like more or examples of open-ended questions. So it's what do you think future requirements will be? What do you think are the pros and cons of project X, as opposed to telling them that they like it or not? How can issue Y best be resolved? And what leads you to say this? So I think that the what and like how types of questions really like help you to be open-ended. It's important that you take notes. So if you're like, you can record the conversation as well. Most of the times I record the conversation, but this is like for research. I think that you also want to take notes because um, you might lose this like recording. But also I think that if you have like one notebook of your project, you can always go back to it easily, as opposed to having to listen to a whole conversation. Just because in your particular case as a planner, you might not need to quote people, right? So you're not going to use it for those purposes. So it's like it might not even worth recording it, because it also inhibits people in what they say. I mean, you're not a reporter, right, or a researcher, so you might just want to take notes. The only reason it might be that you want to go back to some particular things in more carefully that you're not understanding. So I think that at first, when I was like exposed to particular topics, I will want to really record it because I wasn't getting the whole of the story. I was like new as a planner, and I wanted to have all the details. Like once you are in a place for a while and you know more about these narratives and about the issues, then you might not need to like be recording everything, but just taking notes is fine. So really it's up to you, but just so you know that people sometimes are inhibited by the audio recording unless they're like pretty accustomed to do that. So someone who works like in professionally as a executive director organization, maybe they get approached all the time for interviews, but resident might not feel very comfortable with like you doing that. So you have to see and assess what you would like to do. But I think that's a very important point, is that actually like taking notes is like really great because you can go back to them. It helps you like think. If you do like different interviews, more like sort of like field notes, and it's a reminder of like of something but very quickly. So taking notes is great, and also it shows the person that you care enough to be taking notes. So sometimes if you're like there just like listening, they don't feel that what they're saying is that important. So I think like if you're taking notes, it also like shows them that you really care a lot about what they're saying. But some other people might say, well, also even taking notes might be inhibiting for others. So again, this is like up to you. It's just like recommended because it helps you. Um, Regardless, I think it's very important that you will always offer confidentiality, so saying to the person that you will not be like sharing everything that they said. If you're like a researcher, this is very important. So in the lecture, actually, I will show the examples of some interviews that I did as oral histories, so they people allowed me to recording in video, but most of the time I will not even ask to do such a thing, to get someone on video, because I will promise confidentiality 100%, right? So I will say that I would change their names, give them fake names. So this is some of the things that we also learn in the focus group already. And I think that it's like good to like then share information about what you learn in the interviews, with like if you put them in the plan, right, so you want to share them with the person so they know that you use the information that they give you. And also it becomes like they gain something by you interacting with them and interviewing them, because they might get the narrative for a whole community or for a whole project or what's like going on in their neighborhood. So it's very important that you share the information. So if you have participants, you always share the final product with them, being a presentation, a report, whatever it is. So interviewers have some limitations, or interviews as a whole have limitations as a technique. So sometimes they are not transparent, they don't result in deliberation between stakeholders, and they're very time consuming. So if you really are wanted to reach the most people and get the most diverse perspectives in the shortest period of time, I think the focus groups are good because of that. All of a sudden you can have 50 people and do it in like 2 weeks, right? As opposed to scheduling every single person and have tons and tons and tons and tons of data that you might not be even able to analyze because it's like so much. So again, interviewing is like one of the tools that you can use, but there's many tools that planners can use. And in the next clip, I will present you some of the videos that I did for this like oral history project, because I want to highlight just like a few things regarding like how to interview someone and what you should keep in mind, and sharing other interviewing techniques.